I mean, it's a scary thing when you close your eyes at night to go to sleep, because you're genuinely frightened you ain't going to wake up. You know, because the cold can kill you, like, while you're asleep, do you know what I mean?
On the one hand, you have this vast number of empty homes, and yet you have these vast number of homeless people, and why can't we just merge the two together?
It's not that simple.
The finances behind it are very complex.
The aim for us is to provide a space where people can generally have that privacy and dignity that they've often been lacking for a long time, especially if they've been on the street.
It's a little bit of permanence following a great period of uncertainty and anxiety, and yeah, it is actually traumatic being made homeless. Life was normal. I'd got a job, I'd got an income, I'd got somewhere to live, and having returned fairly recently from overseas, was looking really to settle down and hang up those field boots, if you like, of aid work, and focus on my career back here in the UK.
At 54 years old, Andrew spent most of his life aid working in crisis areas like Calais and West Africa. After a serious injury to the left shoulder which prevented him from working, he had no idea that his life was about to change.
Due to the loss of income, I couldn't pay the rent, and suddenly I found myself homeless. And it can happen as quickly as that and as easily as that. You lose your job, you lose your income, and suddenly, if you've got no support network immediately to hand, you're on the street.
The UK has seen a huge rise in homelessness, and rough sleeping has doubled in the past 5 years. But sites like this one on our city streets are so common, we no longer see them. It's a desperate situation, and for Phil, a daily fight to survive.
I've been here since about 9 o'clock this morning, and I've sold 3 magazines, so that is quite disheartening. That's 5 hours of my life I've just been standing, being ignored by a lot of people, but I say it's hard.
Common reasons for becoming homeless include job loss or relationship breakdown. But for Kev, it was the mental stress that came with losing his first child.
My son passed away 15 months ago, and everything, like mentally, in a professional basis, the work that I was doing, everything just went downhill. I split up with my missus, lost my house, ended up taking drugs, and in the end I just had enough and just left where I was living, and I've been on the street since. I don't drink anymore, I don't use drugs anymore. But I was smoking weed, smoking heroin, drinking spirits, just out of control. Been through a lot really in the past 15 years, I've been through a hell of a lot. But nothing compared to losing my son, that's what pushed me over the edge, I think.
For every person like Kev, there are 6 empty houses. Some of them vacated after death, others left empty because the owners simply can't afford to make them habitable. One company in Leicester thinks this wasted resource could be used to tackle homelessness.
A lot of councils don't want to do it because it's a lot of time for them, and of course it costs money. And of course it's not a statutory duty, they don't have to do it. But you can understand the frustrations of people who are homeless or are living in substandard accommodation, and they see perfectly nice empty houses sitting there empty. Why can't we have it?
This house has been empty for 20 years now, and the owner still hasn't been found.
I tried even ringing the council. Like some boroughs have empty houses department, and the council couldn't tell me who the owner is.
But Empty Homes UK is working in partnership with the charity Action Homeless. They think the solution to both problems is to combine the two together. Just down the road from Leicester city centre is another empty house. It's being refurbished by the charity and will soon home 5 single homeless people.
We found this house just over 6 months ago. It's been empty, as far as we can find out, nearly 2 years. And we've been able to do this with some grants from a foundation who's given us the money to help us do the refurbishment work, and we've borrowed the money to actually buy the house, and eventually we'll pay that back. The charity will pay that back over a period of time from the rents from the clients as well. So it's a win-win. There needs to be more than just hostels for homeless people. So what we've done is obviously completely redecorated, and we've created a little bathroom. This is one of the things our clients say that they really want, is to have that privacy and dignity, not to have to share with people, especially if they're going to live here long term, which many of them will. And as I say, there'll be 5 other people living here. People can choose to decide how much they want to interact with each other, but many of the houses we have like this, people do generally want to start to live together because they quite like that level of social interaction. They're not completely living on their own and isolated, and that's quite important as well.
Well, that sense of belonging is exactly what Andrew needs. He'll be moving in next week and can now look forward to using the household amenities which others take for granted.
It's a permanent solution, if you like, so that even when I'm ready to go to work, and actually I'm glad to report that my shoulder is recovering, and I should hopefully be back in employment soon, I'll still be able to stay here for as long as I choose to. And the rent I pay will be on a sliding scale according to how much income I'm actually realising.
So the solution is clear. There's people that need houses and houses that need owners. But it would require more spending, which in times of austerity, the country cannot afford.
We should always remember, when we're talking about government providing support for individuals, that taxpayers have to pay for that support, and many taxpayers are themselves struggling to get by.
One of the critics of the scheme include political radio host Julia Hartley-Brewer.
It seems like a simple calculation, doesn't it? We've got these people who are homeless and we've got these homes. It's not that simple. When you look at the homes that are actually empty, an awful lot of them actually are uninhabitable. They're actually marked for demolition, old council properties that have fallen into terrible disrepair. They're also often in areas where you can buy a house for £1, literally for £1, because no one wants to live there. There are no jobs, there's no future there.
In Nottingham, the head of housing believes there are additional challenges.
The finances behind it are very complex, because you'll find those houses are dilapidated and they will need an immense amount of money spending on them in order to bring them up to a standard where they're rentable or whether they're able to be purchased. Where's that money coming from? The local authorities' capital investment programmes are becoming stretched, and unless there's an investment from national funds, we're just not going to be able to release all those properties.
Far from the political debate, the reality for Andrew is that tomorrow he'll be waking up safe and secure.
It's a chance to rebuild. I consider myself extremely lucky. I've come through some very dark times over the last 6 months. All kinds of fears, some low points, depression, a feeling of helplessness to a degree. All those things I've been able to overcome.
But he is just one. For so many others, for so many complex reasons, there seems no escape from the street. Critics believe finding a solution to the UK's homeless crisis is much more difficult than using empty homes. Just as for most rough sleepers, solving their individual problems is equally as complex. For Kev, returning to his hometown of Derby is not an option. The council would be obliged to help him, but he'd run the risk of his drugs past catching up with him. He's forced to stay in Nottingham, where he isn't entitled to help, and forced to fight for survival alone.
Normal day for me is get up, go and pick up my prescription because I'm on a methadone programme, and then it's try and raise the money for a room. If not, then I'm out on the streets. It's eat, do what I can to survive, basically. It's the same day every day. It's the same Groundhog Day. Do you know what I mean? Try and find somewhere to have a wash, get changed. And it's the same every day. Same every day.